My husband, Leo, male 34, and I, female 30, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids, and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses. Swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life. It was just intimacy, etc., etc. I did ask if there was someone else. He said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him. But at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum: open marriage or divorce. I chose the open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STD every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time, but he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It ended the life of me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister, Katie, female 26, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight, and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie, female 30, set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jessie helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for intimacy and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have intimacy eventually, but it was all just casual, and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself. So I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best intimacy I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of intimacy you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I am currently seeing 2 different men alongside Leo. One, Mark, male 38, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven, male 25, is very casual, mostly just hanging out and intimacy. They know about my open marriage, other relationships, and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He was always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before intimacy. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tried to initiate intimacy a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more. And he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at intimacy. Katie and Jessie have been wanting me to divorce for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turnoff for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him, and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asked to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Now for a few important comments. Commenter, divorce. You're happier without him. He would only want to close the marriage because he can't get laid, not that he only loves you. We've just been together for so long that the idea of him not being there feels weird. Which sounds stupid since I have 2 other partners, so it's not like I'll be lonely. But Leo was a part of my life for so long that for him to not be there just doesn't feel right. But you're probably right. When OP was asked about her husband dismissing her feelings regarding the open marriage, she said, "I really do think Leo does love me in his own way. Even when he was more active in the open marriage, he still made time for me and still did a lot with him for me. But you're probably right on the divorce. Part of the issue is the main relationship is supposed to be the important one, so the whole 1 weekend a month for us time wasn't enough." I actually did argue that in the beginning, but he insisted that he needed to keep his weekends free. He did spend a lot of time at home during the weekdays, so in his mind, that made up for it. What if he finds evidence of your open marriage and frames you as a cheater and then brings you to the cleaners? At this point, I wouldn't trust Leo. What you're experiencing is normalcy. You're used to his presence in your life, but how long are you going to live like this? Jesse had the same train of thought of you and actually took screenshots of his dating profiles during the beginning of the open marriage. She also told me to save screenshots of any texts we had about the open marriage. I don't think Leo would do that, but I also didn't think he'd ever ask for an open marriage. So what do I know? Now for the 1-week update. Hi everyone. I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason, that I was a bit overwhelmed, especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing. Divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me does still love my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I can't just forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand when we watch TV together. Leo has done a lot of shitty things, but he really isn't the big jerk people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him. A part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me that ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it, but he didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was, but he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, "Not like I used to." He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage, I think my love for him died, and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up, and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in, and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was. But he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just intimacy on the side for him. He only did hookups, and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved only me, but he thought I was falling in love with my partners, and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We've decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce was finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know how I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, I'm wondering if maybe the other woman ended it, so now he was back to what he was comfortable with. His wife? He went and had his fun, and when that died out, he was not left with a wife waiting for him at home. Then OP replied, he and his coworker were only sleeping together for maybe a month. She fulfilled his kinks that I never liked indulging in. That's why he was with most of his partners, because I wasn't interested in his kinks. Another commenter said, he stepped out of this marriage first and tried to have his cake and eat it too. The thing with open marriages is that you can never count on how emotions will change. Intimacy is a very intimate action, and many people will develop emotional connections. Those connections come at a price. He placed a bet and he lost. At least he's man enough to acknowledge it and own up to it. There is no easy answer, OP. I wish you healing. Then OP replied, thank you. Leo just thought the open marriage would be a way for him to get all of his kinks he couldn't do with me because I wasn't into it. He knew how unconfident I was, which wasn't because of him. A lot of people seem to think that he eroded my self-esteem, but he didn't. We can thank my mother for that, but that's a whole other can of worms. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. Another commenter said, so he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. So basically, while he asked for a mutually open marriage, he expected it to be only his side open, and then got hurt that reality didn't meet his expectations. Then OP replied, Leo admitted that he did only expected his side to be open. He was never going to stop me from opening my side, but like I said, he didn't think I would. Deba'a, I don't think I would have either if it wasn't for Jesse and Katie pushing me and making profiles for me. Now for the 2-month update. Hey, it's been a while. It feels like both lot and nothing has happened. I still have a lot of feelings, but I'm also just really tired. Leo and I are still in the middle of our divorce. It's been as amicable as a divorce can be. Since we mutually agreed to it and we had prenup, it's been pretty easy splitting everything else 50-50. My lawyer says I should be divorced by the end of the year. Leo is insistent on giving me alimony, but I'm not really interested. Thanks to a lot of people making me think about Leo's explanation for the open marriage, I did approach him about it again and asked him to be 100% honest with me about that girl from work. He admitted there was more to it than he admitted. This is what he explained to me, and I have decided to believe him. Even if he's lying, it doesn't really matter anymore since we're getting divorced. I also just have little energy to care about the details at this point. According to him, this is the timeline. He was posting on Reddit about his kinks for advice and such, which I did know about beforehand. He was getting messages from this one user and they just kept talking back and forth. He mentions my name to the user in a conversation, which he let me read. During his lunch break, his coworker, I'll call her Mary, approaches him and asks if he uses Reddit and asks about his handle. He confirms, and then Mary tells her he's the user he's been talking to. They start talking more and more in real life as friends, and eventually start talking through IG. He also showed me these conversations. The conversations were mostly just memes and jokes with occasional flirts mentioning of kinks. At one point, she says it's too bad he's not single. This is when he decided to demand the open marriage, because Mary was clearly into him and into the same kinks, and she could sexually satisfy him since I was unable to. That's how he basically said it, anyway. Truth be told, we did have some bed difficulties before the open marriage was brought up. I'm very vanilla, and he discovered his kinks after we were married. I tried them all for him, but I just couldn't get into it, and he didn't like seeing me struggle. So he didn't try to bring them into the bedroom again after it was obvious I didn't like it. So we did have intimacy compatibility issues. Maybe we were doomed to fail even without the open marriage ultimatum. Our families, outside of my sister, were shocked when we told everyone we were getting a divorce. They always thought we were so happy and in love. My mom blames me, which I expected, but it still hurts. They don't know about the open marriage, and Leo and I plan to keep it that way. I think he is ashamed to tell them. I am too, if I'm being honest. I really thought Leo was the love of my life. He was my first for almost everything. I said we were together for 7 years, but we were friends since college. I've known him for nearly 12 years, and we're about to become strangers soon. I still mourn my marriage, even though Katie and Jesse keep telling me this is for the best. They're both definitely thrilled. They don't hide it, but they also know this has been a weird time for me. I just don't know how to feel. I thought I would feel free or relieved or heartbroken or something, but I just feel weird, like I lost a part of myself and I don't know how to get it back. I'm still living with Katie, but I'll be moving out soon. I found a 1-bedroom apartment that's near Jesse, so I won't be completely alone. Mark offered to let me move in with him, but I declined. Honestly, we're kind of on standby. He knows I'm having a hard time processing my feelings about my husband and the end of my marriage. I think he wants us to be official, but I don't know. I really do like Mark, and I don't want to lose him, but I feel like I need to figure myself out first. As for Steven, we ended our relationship at the beginning of August. He got a job offer in another state and took it. Even though it was casual, I did cry a little. Steven is a great guy. Whenever he does decide to settle down into something serious, the woman who gets him will be a lucky one. We've been texting here and there, but it's mostly just sending each other TikToks and polite, hope you're doing well messages. Some people asked me if I wanted to go back to monogamy, even after experimenting and clearly getting into this poly relationship I had going on. And the answer is yes, I do. Even though Mark and Steven were great, and I met plenty of great guys during my open marriage, I don't know if I've really been happy with myself or my choices. I also think I felt guilty a lot too, like I was somehow cheating on Leo, Mark, and Steven, even though it was all consensual. Polyamory and open relationships may work for some people, but it's really just not for me. Jesse says I need to get a therapist. I have tried looking, but finding a therapist that's both available and seems like a good fit is a pain. Hopefully I can find one by the time the divorce is settled. I also want to figure out what to do about Mark on my own. I don't want to lead him on and give him false hope. Maybe we should take a break, or maybe I should tell him to just break up with me. He should find his own happiness without worrying about me. Now for a few important comments. Commenter, you're numb. It happens when you lose your partner and you're grieving and under a great deal of stress. I think Reddit as a whole takes divorce really blithely, but I read once that divorce is one of the most stressful life events, right after death of a loved one. And I'm slightly curious. You say your family is shocked that you're divorcing because you seemed so in love, but the fact that your friends are delighted you're leaving your husband tells me that they've witnessed some not-so-great relationship dynamics. Katie and Jesse were the only ones I told about the open marriage, so they're glad it finally ended in divorce. None of my other friends or family members know. I've read all of your posts, and I don't know why you're still protecting your ex by not telling people what he bullied you into doing. He had the girl all picked out and wanted your approval so he could cheat. Tell the damn world. I would. You have nothing to be ashamed about. Don't let your mother put the blame on you. You need a therapist who will help you build your self-esteem. I just feel embarrassed I let it get to this point, I guess. I probably should have just gone with the divorce when the ultimatum was first issued. I'm glad you are healing. It sounds like Mark wants more than you can give him right now. Focus on healing and finding out who you are outside of this marriage. It's sad that your STBX ruined a loving marriage for kink intimacy. I'm glad you are divorcing. You deserve better. Definitely get therapy. It will help you navigate the next part of your life. Am I the idiot for hiding my boyfriend's anime body pillow and mousepad before my parents' visit? My boyfriend, /32, male, and I, 27, female, have been together for a year. He's only met my parents once over the holidays last year because they live pretty far away. They've been visiting this past week, and since he and I just moved in together, they were excited to see our new place and get to know my BF a little more. We have an extra bedroom, and this has become my boyfriend's gaming room for the most part, but we agreed when guests come over, it would be a second bedroom. He really likes video games and anime in particular, so he has a lot of toys and artwork that he's collected over the years from different games and such. One thing he has is this anime body pillow that features a sexy anime girl on it. He also has a mouse pad for his gaming computer that resembles a busty anime girl. Before my parents came over, I asked him to take down his toys and stuff so they could be comfortable. I was upset to see that he left the body pillow and the mouse pad in place. I don't really feel comfortable with either item, but he's really into anime, so I've always kind of left it alone. But I absolutely didn't think it was appropriate to leave it in there when my parents would be staying over. I took the cover off the body pillow and put the pillow in the closet, and I put the mouse pad in a drawer in our room. When my parents arrived and we showed them to their room, my BF noticed the missing pillow and mouse pad. Later, when we were in bed, he brought it up to me and asked why I hid them. I told him I didn't think my parents would feel comfortable with those things in the bedroom, and when they leave, we can put them back. My BF got really upset. He told me that he feels like I'm ashamed of his interest in anime. He said he spent his whole life feeling like people think he's weird for being into anime, and he didn't expect his own GF to be just like everyone else. The next day, I noticed him taking some of his manga books off our bookshelf and putting them into a box. I asked him why, and he said something like, "I'm putting them away so you don't have to look at them anymore." I feel really bad. I feel like I hurt him, but I just really didn't think my parents would feel comfortable sleeping in a room with those items. But now he's just acting so distant and cold, and he's not really engaging with my parents at all. They keep asking me what's wrong, and I don't know what to say. Am I the idiot? Now for the top comment. Talking mice. There's a huge difference between anime video game decorations and sexualized anime content. A busty mouse pad and a sexy body pillow would most definitely make anyone feel uncomfortable. I get that it's his space too, but I think a small amount of compromise for a limited time isn't a problem at all. He might see it as you being embarrassed of his interests, but the reality is, most people aren't comfortable with sexualized decor. It's not about anime at all. Not the idiot. He really needs to have more consideration for others. Then OP replied, "That's exactly my feelings too. There's other stuff in the room that's anime gaming related that was left up, but it was more the intimacy stuff I didn't feel comfortable leaving out for my parents." Now for the 2-day update. Thank you for all of the responses. And sorry it took me a few days to update. I was waiting for my parents to leave so I could talk to my boyfriend about all of this. I read through the comments, and it kind of validated something I already was feeling. Intimacy decor aside, the way he acted the next day when he was putting the books away really bothered me. I ended up explaining the situation to my parents, and they weren't exactly thrilled by his reaction either. I got the feeling after this trip that they don't really approve of him, which is neither here nor there. I'm 27, and I'm old enough to make my own choices. But above everything else, my parents mean a lot to me. I never get to see them, and it was important to me that my BF would be present and treat them well while they were here. After they left, I drove them to the airport. BF refused to come. I came back from the airport and found a couple trash bags outside the door. Turns out that once I left, my BF started throwing all of his anime things into these bags. I asked why, and he said something along the same lines as before, that clearly his interests weren't welcome in my home, and he'd keep them in his car until he figured out what to do with them. I kinda snapped. I'd been keeping it together all week for my parents, but I had enough at this point. I told him I never asked him to get rid of his anime stuff, just that it wasn't appropriate for my parents while they were staying with us. I told him this reaction is unfair and he's being manipulative. I told him that this week was supposed to be about him getting to know my parents, but he was too fixated on this anime issue to even spend any real time with them. He then called me manipulative for making him believe that I was cool with his love for anime for the past year, when I was clearly ashamed of it. He also said he didn't want to be a part of a family that doesn't appreciate anime. We went back and forth for a while, and then I told him we needed space. I wasn't even really planning that, but it came out and it felt like the right thing for me. Well, he then started crying a lot and apologizing and immediately tried to take back what he said, but I was just done at this point. He left eventually, and now I'm here in this apartment alone. Well, and the mousepad and body pillow, lol. He left those behind. Anyway, I don't really know if we're broken up officially or what, but it seems to be heading that way. I'm just feeling awful, and I almost wish this all happened before my parents visited because I feel like it tainted the whole trip. But yeah, thanks for the replies, guys, and for helping me open my eyes a bit. Am I the idiot for blocking my longtime friends after they accused me of ruining our vacation? I, 38, female, just got back from a vacation with two of my longtime friends, Kate, 40, female, and Mary, F38. I've known them both since university, and we've always been close. The three of us had been planning this Bali trip for a few months, along with our husbands and their kids. They both have children under 5, while my husband Jake, 45, male, and I are child-free. We agreed to split the cost of a 4-bedroom villa 3 ways, and everything seemed fine at first. Jake and I arrived in Bali earlier than the rest of the group because we had different flights. Once we got to the villa, we waited to choose rooms with our friends and didn't mind when they both chose the ones with en-suites. We had a great time during the trip. Jake and I did some couples activities, massages, hiking, dinners, but we also spent time with Kate and Mary and their families whenever it worked for everyone. To be nice, I even surprised them with massages to give them a break. The only thing that made me uncomfortable was that whenever I ordered a drink, a cocktail before dinner, or a glass of wine with meals, I'd get comments like, "Oh, you're drinking again?" For context, I'm a social drinker and don't drink often. But we were on vacation, and I didn't think it was a big deal, especially since our husbands were drinking too. I just ignored the comments so I could enjoy the trip. On the last night, Jake and I made plans with the guys to go out, and Kate and Mary said they were staying in to pack. Jake convinced me to join him, and since it was the last night of our vacation, I didn't want to stay in either. We went out and had a great time. We got home at 1 a.m. and I passed out straight after. The next morning was a bit chaotic, with everyone packing and checking out, but we all made it back home without issue. We had booked business class seats back, so we were separated during the flight and said quick goodbyes at the airport. A week after returning home, I got a long text from Kate saying that both she and Mary wanted to reduce contact with me because I had ruined their vacation. They mentioned several things, like me drinking every night, that I wasn't acting like a girl's girl, that I booked different flights, didn't hang out with them enough, and that I was selfish for not helping with their kids. She even said I was just focused on partying and not acting my age. This message really hurt me. I cried after reading it, and I honestly don't know what to think. I thought I was just enjoying my vacation, but clearly they had a very different view. I haven't responded yet, and my husband has been asking what's bothering me, but I don't know what to say. Am I the idiot for how I acted during the trip? Thank you, Reddit, for all your kind words and support. Reading through the responses and seeing how many of you are upset on my behalf has made me reflect on how I initially planned to handle things. I was going to apologize, thinking it might be the easiest way to keep the peace, but now I realize that might not be the right approach after all. I have also showed my husband Jake this post and the text message, and he told me to thank you for looking out for me. He's actually pretty angry on my behalf about the text message. I showed him some of the comments that gave me insight on how my friends may have been feeling, which has given us both a lot to think about. He asked me what I wanted to do next, and if I wanted him to respond to my friends for me. While I appreciated the offer, I told him I'm still thinking it over. He reassured me that he's here for me no matter what, and if I decide I want him to step in, he'd be ready to say something on my behalf. For now, I'm going to sleep on it and take some time before I respond or don't respond to the text message. If I do, I'll post an update. Again, thank you all for helping me see things a bit more clearly. I feel less alone in this now. Now for a few important comments. Commenter. Not the idiot. They are 100% jealous. There's a stage in life where child-free people do better hanging out with other child-free people. People with kids can't see past their family lives and don't understand why you might want to live your life. I've been that soldier. Whatever about meeting for coffee, lunch, dinner, traveling with them is an absolute no. Then OP replied, I think you're right. I shouldn't have gone on the trip, and personally, I don't remember them being so judgmental. Thank you. Commenter, tell your husband. Then OP replied, I was going to, but was worried that he might want to talk to their husbands. I'm very non-confrontational and was thinking about just apologizing. Thank you. I will tell him. Commenter, get a grip on yourself. Apologize for what? Then OP replied, lol, given the responses, I don't think I will be apologizing. I've realized that actually they owe me an apology. Commenter, downvoted. It does seem a bit weird to me that these are your friends of 15-ish years, and yet you chose to spend time with them only when it was a group activity. It would make more sense to me that you would want to spend time with them. Go out the three of you, leave the men behind, or you stay behind when the men went out. You surprised them with massages? Did you arrange it for the three of you, or did you send them off with their husbands? Did you babysit? You booked separate flights. Then OP replied, downvoted. We did group activities, or I went out with my husband. The massages were for the three of us. No, I did not babysit. As you said, these are my girlfriends for about 15 plus years. I should have offered to babysit without having to be asked. Thanks for a different POV. Commenter. Info. Are they breastfeeding and can't drink? Did they expect you to only hang out with them the whole time? Then OP replied, no, they aren't breastfeeding. They just aren't drinkers. To be fair, I'm not a huge drinker myself. I think they were looking for us to have more time together. Info. What were their husbands doing to help with the kids? You said the husbands were drinking and you would have a drink too. Were the husbands doing 50% of the childcare? Then OP replied, no, my friends were doing the childcare primarily, from what I observed, on how much OP drank. I passed out in my bed after a night out in heels. We were out at a bar till 1 a.m. and I was exhausted. I only drink as much as I can handle. 4 to 5 cocktails is my max. As a woman in her late 30s, I have bad hangovers, so I drink within reason. My husband, on the other hand, drinks a lot more than I can handle. Now, for the 2-day update. I spoke with Mary on text. She said she agreed on most part, and they both have had a problem with me for ages because I invited them to or only organized adult-only events and nothing family-friendly, which isn't true. I was the one who organized her baby shower. I added both of my ex-friends to a group chat to discuss my feelings. Throughout the interaction, no apology for their passive-aggressive comments or even acknowledgement that I tried to be accommodating. I gave them better rooms, organized massages, kept our shared space organized, made all the dinner reservations, helped prep snacks, got gifts for them and the kids. Mary just said that she's sorry it's come to this, and Kate just ignored me. I was so disappointed in these women who I thought were my friends. I blocked them and unfollowed them on social media. I am going to share this Reddit post with our mutual friends who want the tea. Told Jake about it. He just said good riddance. I'm going to Japan next March and Fiji in December for a wedding. I'll be posting on social media with the caption, finally a real vacation. Thank you to the person who suggested it. Now for a relevant comment. Commenter. Out of curiosity, what did your mutual friends think about it? P.S. You're not the idiot. I spoke to a few others, and they kind of mentioned that they knew, and they also got some comments on other stuff in the past, so they were including these two for my sake. I think I'll be fine on the friendship front.